Hello and good morning, Susan. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Arrow. How are you?
Excited to talk with you because I believe that you and I are speaking the same street when it comes to art being very important to our chapters and journeys.
Perfect. I'm looking forward to it then. If you already enjoy that, this will be a meeting of like minds.
There you go. And boy, I'll tell you what, it seems to be the artist, the one that's, always stepping through these storms to help people understand that you know what, you're going to have good days, bad days, but listen to your artful self.
Couldn't agree more. I have sadly discovered it a little bit later in life, but boy, do I now believe in the power of it.
It's so true because, I became a daily writer in July of 1994. I can't imagine my life without that because that opened up the path for art on a canvas, art is in the kitchen. Art everywhere. It comes with so many different definitions nowadays when you open yourself up for art.
You know what? You are so right because I think, to be fair, I've always written. I didn't practice as many what I would call completely right-brained creative outlets with color and collage, really freeing myself up in that way. And yes, there are so many paths to it. Rather, yes, kitchen, music, and boy, does it enhance our lives and I feel like really help us navigate the choppy waters of living in this day and age.
You talk about the right side of the brain. I always thought that we were supposed to be tapping into the left side. Has it switched up?
Yeah, so in the recent research, as I got really curious about what was happening, the left side's what we use to succeed in our current society. That tends to be very linear, process-oriented, logical. The right side is really much more holistic, creative, more encompassing. And, when you were talking about what writing, the daily writing did for you all those years ago, it probably had some of those components of play in it and of expressing yourself, which when you find that release, it's releasing, endorphins, which really can help with stress and anxiety. And yeah, there's been so much written in the last few years around the science of play, of creativity, self-compassion, and creating art for just the sake of creation, not the output, really taps into all of those components.
I think one of the reasons why so many people are so afraid of being creative and or into the world of art is because first, I'm very blessed to speak with a lot of actors and musicians and very creative people. And the majority of us all agree that creativity is an addiction. And I think that scares a lot of people away because they don't understand that you've got to answer the call.
Yeah, you're it's funny that speaks to me and what happened when I found art journaling is I'd always had a pretty strong inner critic. My first careers in journalism, and I had a certain way I felt I should write and present. And then I went into corporate culture, and I had a deep perfectionist, right? Got to do it this way. And when I started art journaling and I made a mess and it sparked joy. It was literally a brown splot. And I wanted to take it home, this is as an adult, and hang it on my refrigerator. I was so proud of the act of creating. And then I started to do it every day. And just simple, the way I'd keep a written journal, which I still do. I'm a huge believer in daily writing, but I started to do art every day because it simply started to feel good and then become that emotional release, then that source of self-discovery. And because at this life stage, I was not trying to be, I'm using air quotes here for an artist, the pure joy of creating the process and not the end result was so liberating. So I love it when you say it is addictive. And we don't give ourselves enough permission to even put our toe in the water many days.
Yeah. When was your awakening when it comes to art? And the reason why I bring that up is because I was at 107.9, and it was Bob Lacey that told these people around me, he says, leave him alone. He's an artist. All of a sudden, him defending me in that tone, it really changed everything for me.
Wow. That is terrific. I have never had that external validation, but I am at an age and life stage that it's okay. I would say really about 6 years ago, as I was just journaling my heart out, and I would look at the pages and I would flip back through them and feel tremendous compassion for the person who had created these pages and for the emotion that I was working through, and even that inner wisdom that was coming out and encouraging me. And it was funny because I would have been a person that, met me 6 years ago, I never would have written a book so personal, right? And I never would have put my art journal entries in. But I thought there's other people like me who have, for whatever reason, got stifled at an early age. And I want to show this low bar, if you will, that it's not about creating anything that's perfect or that you would even show. It's about what feels good and creating for the sheer joy of creating, or the release of creating, right? Self-expression that is non-judgmental just leads to so much emotional healing.
When you look back like that, I call that method of looking back, dear future reader. It's like your present self is writing a letter to a person that will read what you have written.
You are exactly right. And it gives me chills even now when I go back through, because I produced quite a few journals first, windy, foggy paths and roads. I was doing a lot of collage, then people standing at the edge of things. It's just the imagery is so powerful, and it comes from a place of curiosity and a lot of compassion, right? The judgment doesn't exist there. That inner art critic doesn't come to these play dates. And I have found so much freedom there. And I think that's part of what you were talking about, the addiction of creativity is if you can quiet that inner critic, it is a spot in our daily lives that is, blissful.
How important is taking a walk for you? Because I take transition walks because I believe that we're all several different personalities all wrapped up into one body. And you've got to be able to have, separation between these personalities. So I take a transition walk.
So we are the same person. I always get up and take a transition walk. And if I can't get outside, I've been fortunate to live in areas with pretty good weather. So I usually try and get outside, feel the fresh air. If I can't, I'll do a loop, if you will, around the room, do just a few deep breaths, big sort of awareness of breathing, even shake it off. Every once in a while it just sort of feels good to, we've always had dogs, big dogs, labs and stuff, to do that sort of dog shake also helps transition.
My wife brought up a very interesting point about modern day mental health, and that is that books like this, art therapy, is so important. People have got to understand that it is a brilliant step forward.
Yeah, like I said, I fell into it, and then because I'm not a neuroscientist, I got lucky, and there was a bunch of research. And the more research I did when it came to mental health, the importance of play, because a lot of art initially can feel like you're playing, and sometimes there's a sense of, well, that's not a good use of time, right? And I'm not being productive. And when you tap into that component of expression through color, through form, through shape, it is so freeing for your mind. All the studies have shown what it does for stress, for anxiety, to once again really release whether it's the endorphins or then produce, a lot of serotonin, which is that neurotransmitter that really contributes to our feelings of happiness and well-being and connection with something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah. Part of that playing that you talk about, I call that hidden speak. In other words, I could be having a cranky day or something that doesn't feel right. And instead of being, negative on the page, I'll use hidden speak to go a completely different direction. And it's child's play with words is what it is.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's exactly what it is. You're moving into a different lens or a different frame that helps you, see it differently. And I've noticed so much when I've taught workshops and even on the online course, we have to spend a lot of time thinking about the voices that are in our head and what we want to put in its place that is curious and supportive. Not everyone can get to supportive right away. It's interesting, but people can get to curious. They can ask like, hi, what's happening here, with a sense a little bit of wonder versus appointedness. And I think that really makes a difference and frees people up.
When did you give yourself permission to start releasing it? Because as long as it's with you inside that little secret place where you put your daily writing, but once you set it free, relinquishing it, it now belongs to us. But it started inside of you.
Exactly. I think it's been building, and I think there have been different outlets all along. It's an interesting question. I would say, once again, just sort of in the last few years, I remember the first time I shared my journal was with my book club, and the fact that people looked up on, it felt so vulnerable, because once again, I would not have shared a written journal per se, but I shared the art journal, and just watching people be curious, right? And feel some of the same feelings, because color, right? It's like what happens when we go to a museum, or you see a sculpture, or even you see a beautiful flower in nature or a tree. There's just a little bit of that sense of awe and wonder that I think can kick off and starts to feel a little bit like a treasure hunt. Like, I want to do this again. This felt good. I liked that, finding that feeling.
Normally, my conversations I'm only gifted with 10 minutes. Do you have 15 minutes? Can I have 5 more minutes with you?
I think so. I'm not sure if Terry's on, but I would love to go another 5 minutes. So I'm pretty sure we can make it work. I'll just hurry up in between.
Because I really want to talk about those visuals and how that really changed my mind when I was led down that path. When you speak of those colors and things, the color yellow, go study it, go see what it is. The color red, the color blue. And when you start adding visuals in, when you walk out into a real world, it's a different story and experience.
Oh, it is. And, color is so personal. There's cultural associations with color, but the cultural associations aren't always the same. I mean, if you take red, for example, it can mean love or anger, right? And depending on your mood, you can feel either. I love when I go outside and take a walk, I'll think of a color. Sometimes I'll even choose an obscure color, and all the places you start to see that color, once you've put that spot in your mind, it's sort of that sense of the creative impulse of the universe is playing with you, whether it's in a bird's wings, whether it's in the bark of a tree, right? No matter where it is, it's fascinating how you start to see that color, that pattern repeat.
I think animals do the same thing. I think they toy with us. I think animals, know that we need something, a mental escape or something, because we've got a very playful red-tailed hawk in our forest, and it's like that little bugger, he just loves to play around with my dog and I.
Oh, I could not agree more about the animals where I used to live. We had a series of owls, and I'm an early bird, and going out and listening to some of what's going on. But yes, I think when we're open, right, it's all about being open and present to what shows up. Rather, you put yourself in that position through actively doing something creative and playing, and then you carry that sense of curiosity and openness out into the world. Yeah, I find there is much more play where we're hardwired to see the negative, right? We've heard a lot about our negativity bias as humans. I think we are equally hardwired to feel joy and awe. We just get in our way, and that it's a real muscle we need to build. We have it as kids. I mean, you have it absolutely as children, but as adults, somehow we lose that, or at least I did. And regaining it is just, it feels the best. Like I said, it's why I was compelled to write the book and start trainings and workshops, because once you get that little taste of it, you want to share it.
Absolutely. Now, the goal is get them to the book, get them to highlight inside the books the areas that they can relate with, but more importantly, activate what you are learning. Don't just sit here and read this book. They've got to activate it.
Oh, absolutely. And on my website, I just have a quick starter guide. This is something that people can do, and it's free. It's a PDF. I know I should be selling the book or the course or stuff, but I really do believe in this. Quite honestly, I wrote this at a stage in life that it's about sharing, and the book takes you through how to do it. So is the online course. But I think you can just play and follow some of those sparks of joy, because one tip that I feel strongly about for a person who isn't already playing in this space is start with the tools that you loved to use as a kid, whether it's crayons, glue sticks, watercolors, finger paints. Because if you start with inexpensive materials that you already associate with freedom and play, it really helps to keep that inner critic at bay. And you also don't have any hang-ups about being wasteful. And I think that's so important. It's a very low barrier to start to see if this is for you, because I do believe it can add so much to people's lives.
What is that website? Because I want them to reach out to you.
Sure. It's Susan-Hensley, and Hensley's HENSLEY.com. Like I said, you can buy the book, see the course, but really there's just a free PDF. It's a quick starter guide that if you just want to play with it for a while, download it and give it a try. I've had a lot of people start that way. It's why I created it, because this really is about you expressing yourself and discovering your inner wisdom, tapping into that power.
Oh my God, you've got to come back to this show anytime in the future. The door is always going to be open for you, Susan.
Oh, I would love it. This has been an absolutely joyful conversation. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're such a gift. You are such a gift to the world.
Oh, thank you. Yes, you too. And this shows like this just mean, however people find things to enhance their lives, it is a wonder. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, you be brilliant today, okay?
Thank you. You too.